Meanwhile, let's talk about interest rates. Joining me now, Christine Jardine, Liberal Democrat MP and spokesperson for the Cabinet Office. Christine, very good morning to you. The Governor of the Bank of England put up interest rates 14th time. We're now at the highest rate for 15 years with interest rates. It's pain for some. It's, I suppose, benefit for those with savings. Is it the right move to keep putting up interest rates? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's not good news for most people who are now seeing their mortgage payments reaching simply ridiculous and unmeetable levels. And what we want to see as Liberal Democrats is action now from the government to support those people. We've suggested a mortgage relief policy which would support people who are now finding that their mortgages, their payments are unmeetable, and give them up to £300 to try and get them through this, because we're in this ridiculous situation where we're seeing the government willing to help banks, willing to allow them to have massive bonuses, HSBC, for example, making massive profits, but nothing is being done to help those people up and down the country who are now struggling.
But it's nothing. Yeah, but a bank is a private company. They're making profits, as you would hope they would do. What they pay their staff is up to them. To look over your shoulder and say, oh, well, banks are giving out bonuses, so therefore we, the government, must spend more taxpayers' money. We don't have the money. We've got the highest tax burden in 70 years. Where are you going to get that money from that you want to hand out like confetti?
All of our policy is costed, and it would come from taxing the banks on the massive profits that they are making through windfalls. This government has failed through the economic crisis to tax those areas where there is a massive profit being made by banks, by all companies, and make sure that people are able to get through it, that they're able to pay their mortgages, able to pay their rents, able to feed their children.
I understand all of that.
It's a crisis which is largely also being caused by this government by trashing the economy in the way that they did last year. So, I don't have any sympathy for the situation there, and my sympathy is with the people who are paying the price for it.
Okay, fine. So when you talk about taxing the banks, a lot of these banks are international businesses. If you start to tax them too highly, guess what? They're going to take the business elsewhere, so you get a larger percentage of nothing. Is that what you're prepared for? Is that how you're going to attract overseas investment into the UK?
I think you're getting away from the point. The point is that we have people in this country who cannot pay their mortgages through no fault of their own. We've got interest rates which are crippling, and we have a government which, first of all, created the problem and is now not. But that is the point.
You're avoiding answering the question. The question is this.
I'm not avoiding answering the question. I hadn't got to the point yet. The point is that the government needs to be doing something. The government needs to be taxing the banks, which are making massive profits. HSBC made 16 billion. NatWest has made a massive profit. And at the same time, savings are not being, handed on to consumers. Profits are being made while people are suffering. Now, you're saying that I'm not answering the question. I am answering the question. I am saying to you what we would do.
Yes, I know, but I'm telling you very clearly. So look, NatWest is 39% owned by the taxpayer. So if they're making big profits, 39% of those profits comes to us, the taxpayer. So to tax them more, they're not necessarily spending it in the way that you would like. But
the way I would like them to spend it, the way I would like them to spend it, and the way I would like the government to be spending its money at the moment is in supporting ordinary people who, through this cost of living crisis created by this government, by trashing the economy, is to support them with mortgage payments, rent payments, feeding the children, do more to help ordinary people, not just tell them that, that they've got to, that we'll get through it and hold their nerve. Actually take steps to support the payment.
You can't seriously put all the blame of both COVID. You can blame the government for spending money badly or poorly during COVID and all of those things, but you can't blame them for the pandemic and the costs and the implications, and you can't blame them for the war in Ukraine and the increase in world energy and grain prices. That is something that we've all had to face, so you can't blame them for that, can you?
I can blame them for the fact that Liz Truss and her government trashed the economy, and that Rishi Sunak was the Chancellor when you said...
That was 30 days of madness. It has nothing to do with it.
30 days of madness for which the country is still paying.
I think that's a missed point.
No, it's not. I think if you ask people where they see the blame lying for the situation that they are facing at the moment. They don't just blame the war in Ukraine. They see that COVID was a problem and that we are now paying some of the price for that. But they look at those 30 days of madness and they see the economy trashed, and they see the inflation that we're now facing. They see the interest rates which are going through the roof, and they see that Rishi Sunak's government has not handled anything.
But you do realise that if you put up tax on banks and on corporations, first of all, you reduce investment, which reduces the opportunity to grow our economy. And secondly, you will find that you have less money in the government coffers. So when that happens...
The government has given tax cuts. The government has given tax cuts of £3 billion to the banks at a time when people can't pay their mortgages. Now, that I do not think is fair.
So should we bring back MIRAS, the Mortgage Interest Relief Scheme? Should we bring that back for mortgage owners?
We have said that what we should do is have a mortgage relief policy, and we've laid this all out. We have costed it. It would come from removing that £3 billion tax cut. And what we want to do is have £300 a month available, capped to £300 per household, to help people who have finding themselves struggling to pay the mortgages, which, you know...
That sounds like you support tax cuts. Excellent.
Well, I just said that, you know, the tax cuts, the £3 billion tax cuts that the banks have got should be redirected to helping people. That's what we think. It's properly costed, and it would mean a difference of £300 per household to help people with their mortgages. And don't remember, in my city, Edinburgh, in my city of Edinburgh, we are facing the highest rent increases in the country, 13.7%, because landowners are facing mortgage increases. And we've seen it over this past year. So this is hitting everyone, and it's hitting everyone hard. And to have a government which, first of all, caused this by trashing the economies and what you yourself described as 30 days of madness, and then gives the banks a £3 billion tax cut, but doesn't help people. It's
where are the reforms, though, on tax, though? So, say, for example, if that's the case...
I thought you were going to ask me about sewage.
Well, I'm going to ask
Although you could argue that this government's policies are.
Oh, all right, well, then let's do that then. We got new analysis of the Environment Agency. A lot of people up and down the country absolutely furious, and I think I would share that fury with sewage which has been pumped into the oceans. It is extraordinary that the government seems not to be accountable for this, and it seems also, according to research that you and your team have been doing, that we can't even monitor how much sewage has been pumped into the sea. What have you found?
Well, what we've found is that there are broken sewage monitors up and down the country, and, you know, 114 of them didn't meet the thresholds that they're supposed to meet. There's one in Sussex, you know, a major beach, which is broken all the time. And what we're finding is that at the height of summer, when families are, you know, flooding to beaches up and down the country or tourist resorts, that, you know, they're afraid, 60% of them are afraid that they're going to be swimming in sewage. And that is simply unacceptable. You know, we've got water companies in this country, and sorry to go down the same route again, but we've got water companies in this country which are making a fortune and handing out hundreds of millions in dividends for the shareholders, and yet they are pumping sewage into our...
So what would you do, nationalise or tax them?
Well, what we would do is we would go down the route of creating public reform companies. We would change the way that the water companies work so that they are public good companies. It's similar to the way that they are in the United States. And, you know, that way we would have some say, and they would have to protect these beaches which have, you know, for, you know, decades have been, you know, best part of a century, have been massive tourist attractions for families in this country. And they're just not being protected now. Swimming water is disgusting, and people don't want to swim in it because they don't feel they are safe. And we have anecdotal evidence that people are beginning to be ill, and something needs to be done. And that's what we would do. We'd create these public benefit companies so that we could have more control of what we are actually swimming in, drinking in, our dogs are bathing in, our children.
Well, that's a point well made, Christine. Just before I let you go, can I just ask you a quick question? Were you in support of lockdowns during the pandemic?
Was I in support of lockdowns?
Did you vote for them?
Well, like most people, I recognised that it wasn't an ideal situation, but it was necessary at the time.
Simple question. Did you vote for them?
I'm trying to remember. I think I did.
So if you voted for them, I find it absolutely astonishing that you spent your time blame-storming everybody else, saying that it's the government, and then you don't look at yourself, that all of you were voting for lockdowns. That's why we've got a trashed economy.
Lockdowns are not the reason we're in the mess we're in at the moment. The reason we're in the mess that we're in at the moment is because this government trashed the economy.
Okay.
30 days of madness, you said it yourself.
Okay, listen, I'm no fan of the government and what they've done. I just find what the alternative is proposing is almost verging on preposterous. But there we go. Christine Jardine, Liberal Democrat MP and spokesperson for the Cabinet Office. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning and talking